All right, welcome everybody to the October 12th Carolina Town Board meeting, and I'll open the meeting with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Okay, welcome, and does anyone want to address the board at privilege of the floor? So I don't have anyone signed up at town hall. If you're in Zoom land, you can raise your Zoom hand.
Not the brown standard, please. No, that's. the-
Nothing, Jesse.
Oh, that's the chair.
Dr. Brown has that.
That's the first there, that's the first. Okay.
That's right, I left it in the middle of the screen, so, okay. I will move on to the supervisor's report. Correspondence to note, we received a letter from Kim Case requesting information on the retirement benefits for highway employees. So we'll be talking about that later. I received a message from Rod Howe about the second solar webinar that he has organized as the chair of the PCOG Energy Subcommittee. That will be October 24th from 6:30 to 7:45 p.m. This one will have at least 3 solar developers there, a representative from NYSEG, and they'll share their perspectives on best approaches to working with municipalities and how solar development is changing in Tompkins County. And I included the URL there, and I'm sure you can get it on the county website as well for that meeting. My notes, I attended the Health Consortium annual board meeting on the 22nd of September at TC3, and at that meeting, the budget was put forward. A 6.5% premium increase for 2023 was recommended, and that was adopted by the board. Jesse and I met with Tompkins Trust last week, 2 representatives from Tompkins Trust, to discuss the best practices and recommendations for fraud protection. This was sort of triggered by the August disappearance of all of our town checks in the mail system. So nothing happened with that. It seemed to be a problem somewhere in the line in Newark Valley. So we will be discussing those measures and probably rebooting our scan, our ability to scan checks and deposit them remotely from the town hall. Mr. Snow and I will be meeting at the Historic Town Hall with Susan Holland and Steve Gibeon on October 19th to discuss planning and funding for improvements to this building on the National Historic Register. Today I met with Sean Rose from the Comp Alliance to discuss workers' compensation insurance for next year. So he will be giving me that by the end of the month, and so he discussed the program and a very stable organization, and so at Cruz Road and Boyer Creek, long-standing project. The project bids are due tomorrow. That'll be 10 a.m. here at the town hall. So hoping to get some bids there. Broadband. Kate and I met with Ray Berger to discuss broadband planning options, and so that was constructive.
That was constructive. That was good.
And there's going to be at the TCOG meeting this month on the 27th, the county has hired a contractor or an engineering firm to assess broadband, the broadband situation countywide and make recommendations about how to move forward. So that's that. And I did also speak with Lee Hasley today, and he's going to be providing us a proposal for ISP build out in Caroline. So Brighton of Caroline is winding down. It's our fourth aspect of the project was to install LEDs at the fire stations. So I've gotten those proposal and the light inventory and have submitted that to NYSERDA. So hope to get that NYSERDA grant wrapped up by the end of the year. Been going on several years now. I attended the October Speedsville Fire Company meeting and discussed the community geothermal feasibility initiative in the Speedsville Hamlet. And so that planning is ongoing, and we hope to make a November 15th NYSERDA deadline for that feasibility grant. And TCOG and Emergency Services Planning Subcommittee. I'm excited really to say that so the county legislature is considering a budget request for an EMS program manager to develop a countywide first response system. So this is grown out of the work that our subcommittee's done, and a great team with Mike Steitley and Justin Van from the Department of Emergency Response, and Gordon Hart and Dan Lamb, two of our local elected leaders. So I am very excited about that. So that's the end of those are my notes, and I'll open it up for questions or discussion.
Mark, regarding the internet build out, are we going to be able to make that? We're just planning on submitting the grant at the end of the month instead of by, what was it, 15% for pre-consideration.
Okay.
No, I mean,
No,
okay.
I'm trying to cobble something together, like sketchy, just to
Yeah.
get it in.
Okay.
And to get some feedback. I did call,
That wasn't meant to be
I called
confession.
Tracy Barrier for, to talk to her, about ideas, and, for the town, and we talked about
Right.
the, the need for broadband and the complications with the different entities and what's happened.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at right now is, to kind of butt out from driving and try to, get an idea of how much it will cost to, they're gonna have a center in the village of Dryden to kind of lay fiber optic cable. It'll work 10 miles radius around there. And Ray was open for that idea. And then the idea is to try to cover as much as we can there, as well as getting money to have a plan for actually building centers of our own, to build out a feasibility study and how much it would cost and how we could do this. So that's what we were looking at.
For this grant.
And trying to pull something together. Like I said, it's going to be very big on Friday. Send it in and just keep working on it, and I'll get the feedback and incorporate that in. Yeah.
So Kate,
Yeah.
you told me, did I understand when you talked to the county person about this
Yeah.
recovery fund that they were receptive to a grant where it could be, this is plan A.
Yeah.
If this doesn't work,
We can use for plan B.
That's
Right.
great. That's great.
Yeah. So that
Perfect.
would have to be used by the end of 2026.
Great.
So I need an app, so I need, you know,
Thank you.
yeah, so that's kind of exciting.
Yeah,
Doing it,
Very
Scott.
exciting.
it's really great.
And Dryden is connecting people like this month to their
Yeah.
system. They use the rail trail to lay the main trunk line.
Smart.
And saving a lot of money by doing
So
that.
that's what that was. I saw them laying that.
But yeah,
Oh, you
yeah,
know.
Yeah,
yeah, so.
over by George Jr. I saw them doing
Yeah.
that.
But save $100,000 by not having to pay to use. the,
Yeah.
You know, poles.
Right?
So, and right away. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about this.
It's great.
And,
Thank you.
going to talk to the county, is it the 27th, is the meeting on the
The
27th?
tea party meeting.
Yeah, it's on the
3
27th.
o'clock in the afternoon.
So,
All this in 1 week.
I know. That's
That's what deadlines are for.
what deadlines are for. So, yeah, so I'm not subbing this week or bringing in any money, but that's okay. I'm really excited about this. So,
Great. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Cal, did you want to say anything about the town hall work?
I think we just need. After, next month after we meet through the.
Yes, cool.
Did you get any feedback from the regional fire company on the feasibility study? Or were you just kind of presenting it a little bit more?
I presented it to them, discussed it. A few of the members were familiar with it because I had been
You know, who's more of a-
stomping around about it before, so I just wanted to make sure, and I did suggest that the Cecil Fire Hall could enroll as a participant, as a.
Yeah.
You know, for property, so I'll be following up with Mike to see if I can get that information and Rick and Leanna Morgan, they find it. Not sure it can go out that far, but as Leanna pointed out, that's what a feasibility study is for, right? So I thought that was a great attitude. So. Great, any other thoughts or questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Move on to the town clerk's report.
I just wanted to mention, that there is a Tompkins County rabies clinic this Saturday at the TCAT bus garage from 11 to 2. It's on the town website, and we also have it on council. And my clerk's report went to the supervisor on October 4th. Check number 286 for $1,886.05. And that's my report.
Great, thank you very much.
You made the announcement of the, what's it called, the
Recovery.
recovery fund, the community recovery fund. And just for everyone who's listening, if they didn't get that announcement, there's a Tompkins County Community Recovery Fund that is grant that is due on the 31st of, that's what the town is applying for, but it's also open to small businesses. So, and there's a website, and it's on the town website.
It's on the town
too.
website,
Find it,
and
Yeah,
it points them to the county website, right?
yeah, and so it's for recovery from COVID losses.
Mhm. It describes,
It describes what it can be used for and who's eligible. There are 3 categories for amounts, so between 10 and 25,000. About 150 and 150 and over. So, it's a really good place to get the money if you lost money over COVID, for your business. So like, it'll help the storefronts, it'll help with a lot of different things, where you need money, so.
okay, so. Let people know, and you said you called around to a few.
I called a couple places, yeah. I don't know all the businesses in town. And so, but, really like people to know that that's out there.
Okay,
And
yeah,
it's not a hard application, so.
thank you. Highway superintendent's report.
Oh. Let's see.
We've recently finished up on Bald Hill and a few other smaller projects. We have one more small paving job at the bottom of Whaler Road, and we'll start switching over to winter projects. November 11th, we'll be switching back to 5 days, 6 to 2:30. The new loader should show up within the next couple of weeks. And we should have received our tip reimbursement payment.
We should have, okay. Keep my eyes out, haven't seen it yet, but should have come in electronically, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay.
And that's all I got for right now.
Okay, thank you. Code officer's report, Cliff's not with us tonight. He is in the office on Mondays and Fridays and it's getting things in order, so. Yeah. And
Would it be in line to just send a letter to New York State DOT saying, nice job, you send it behind.
Can we? Is that what you're asking?
Oh, we can, but is it a good idea, or is it just kind of?
I mean, would you include the need for them to fill in the borders? I have like a 6-inch border in front of my mailbox. Somebody's gonna kill themselves on, which they haven't done all the way down. I guess we do it every day, so. We all do that stuff. I mean,
Thank you, are always nice.
I mean, I can pass the word along.
yeah, that'd be great. County Representative Dan's report. I don't see Dan on the meeting, so I don't think Dan's with us tonight. And I believe he's involved in the county budget deliberations now.
He sent the report.
He did send a report.
Yeah, this afternoon.
Oh,
I'll see if I can get it and I'll read it.
I didn't see it.
Get it.
I'm sure I saw it.
Must have come late. He just sent it to you, Tim.
I mean, maybe I'm just hallucinating, but I'm sure I saw it.
Okay. Give it a check.
I'm just looking down. Weird. Where'd it go? Maybe it was last month that I saw. Could have been last month.
He did.
I bet it was.
Okay,
Sorry.
time one, okay. Great, any committee or liaison updates?
The zoning commission will be meeting again next Tuesday. What's the date? Let's see. The 18th. That's from 7 to 9:30. They plan to meet again on the 25th. And again on November 1st. Their hope is to tie things up with their draft in order to hopefully have a public information session sometime in November, depending upon when they can get all of this lined up to have adequate time to announce it, et cetera, et cetera. So they've made great progress.
Great,
Time consent.
thank you. Anybody else? Great, okay, we'll move on. Action discussions, Judge Reinhold. Here to speak to us regarding collaborative projects and port security. Welcome.
Thanks, I apologize in advance for the length of this, but there's a lot around the cover. Those have concerns about collaborative projects, has concerns about its own security. So as a preamble, I will say that there is a timeline involved in this narrative that is not down to the second. But generally, the events that happened when it says they happened around that time. They happened in the order in which we have them arranged. So recently, the town court sought us to submit a grant to the New York Unified Court System program that funds capital improvements to the court for the benefit of the court. The submission sought a video surveillance system to be installed and monitored by the court in order to enhance the safety and welfare thereof. Part of this approval process is a letter of endorsement from the town board. The board brought forth a letter of approval, but not in the original form granting agency wanted to see. Instead, they inserted additional conditional items. For example, the board specified they would endorse the grant, but only if the court would secure the money and then engage in collaborative process to build the system specified and operated by the town supervisor. The courts declined participation in this collaborative process based substantially on past experience. For understanding context, to make sure the court's reasoning is on the record, let me refresh your memory as to how that went. In October of 2017, Judge Barr applied for a grant for $30,000 of HVAC upgrade to the courtroom as a joint project between the court and the town. Grant was awarded to the court in January 2018 with a completion deadline of June. The supervisor was aware of this and assured the court the deadline would be met. It was really an off-the-shelf technology requiring getting some bids and selecting a vendor. June came and went with no contract or bids forthcoming. The supervisor asked Judge Bauer to secure an extension for the grant, which she did. While not happy, the granting agency authorized an extension to November of 2018. Judge Bauer maintained regular inquiries with the supervisor to keep track of the progress of the grant, but the supervisor provided only excuses of another deadline passed on a $30,000 grant, unusually large for this particular agency. Commencing in 2019, the Unified Court System began contacting Judge Bauer, asking for the paperwork of completion for the grant that had been due in November. She explained they were working with the town, asked patience on the part of the state. The supervisor continued to deflect inquiries. By the time March rolled around, 14 months after the disbursement of the money, 4 months after the second extension deadline, the state was getting a bit testy. Judge Bauer asked me to take over communication in coordination with the state, having had some experience with grants. March passed with no progress again, and finally, in the beginning of April, the supervisor convened a meeting between the judges himself and the town code officer to see if they could get an RFP form. April came and went, and May rolled around, and we were still without any significant progress. At the beginning of May, the state called me and communicated we were to spend the money immediately or give the grant back. I tried to explain that we were coordinating with the town in an effort to maximize the impact of the money. We were dealing with the town supervisor who seemed to have substantial problems moving forward. The state told me, and I believe this is a direct quote, if not it's a close paraphrase, "Your supervisor's incompetence is not our problem. The grant went to the court and the court is responsible for it." I did manage to write an argument, asking for a little more time, and the state did grant a second extension. However, it had to go through the director of the system. The program that funded the project, which monitors all grants given to the court system. She was not happy. I am sure that every judge longs to come to the attention of the state office in Albany that monitors our fiscal activity as a grant defaulter. What a gift from the supervisor. Finally, as May drew to a close and the deadline for forfeiture approached, I actually had to get on the phone and advise the supervisor as to how to retain the money. As an aside, I found it ironic that a judge who, in the supervisor's opinion, is no more than an assembly line worker with no particular skills, had to step in and advise him on executive function. This was a mistake. I can assure you it will never happen again. Due to that intervention, the court met the state's heavily modified deadline by the skin of our collective teeth 1 year after the original deadline. When the contractor finally came, the collaborative part began. The supervisor and the contractor had a conference with the judges that lasted, and this is an approximation, about 2 minutes and 18 seconds. They inquired where the judges would like to place the mainframe air handler. The judges, mindful of the supervisor's unsleeping drive, to get their records out of this small conference room so that it could be available for the supervisor. So the conference room was the place to put the air handler. The records contained therein could migrate to the space between the clerk's office and the judges. That would have solved a lot of problems. Got the supervisor's conference room, provided records access to the judges and clerk in the same adjacent space, and provided heating and air conditioning to the building with unfettered access for maintenance. A location that discommoded no one. Immediately, the judges were told by the vendor that to put the air handler there would be difficult. He went on to explain that he would actually have to make some building modifications in order to use the conference location. The vendor strongly wanted to put the system in the space between the judges and the court clerk. He stated that it'd be easy. Instantly, the supervisor backed the vendor because we all know that designing a major building project, the vendor's ease of installation takes priority over the 20-year interest of the users. It was at this time that the judges repeatedly underscored to the supervisor that this was by law a secure space, and any entry to anyone would require the presence of a judge or the clerk. The supervisor was unmoved. During installation, judges appeared many times to monitor the installers as they performed the functions required of them. On 3 separate occasions, the supervisor booked me to appear between 8 and 10 a.m., saying the maintenance folks would be there. On 3 occasions, 10 o'clock came, and went, and I called the supervisor, and he said, "Oh, they're not coming." Nothing speaks utter contempt more than actions that embody the attitude of your time is mine to waste, you're only a minion. We'll see that attitude reflected again a little later in more recent activities. The project was finally finished, and the judges came in from time to time to accommodate maintenance if enough notice was given for them to adjust their schedules. The judges, I will say again, are required by law to maintain their space for their records, their conferences, and their offices, and it cannot be delegated to anyone who is not a sworn member of the court. These experiences alone would mitigate for the judges to want any future project, such as the video surveillance, to be theirs alone. However, there is a second and heretofore undisclosed reason for the court to have its own security system. The court has suffered only one security breach that put a court employee in imminent danger of their safety and welfare, and subsequently caused her to leave unemployment. That incursion was caused on a day the court was closed to the public. And the court clerk was doing her cash reconciliation with several $1,000s on the desk, and concurrently doing database updates to a confidential database. The supervisor, with no prior warning or phone call inquiry as to whether it was acceptable or any other minimal safety protocol, ushered a very angry individual whose license had been stopped through 2 locked doors. After forcing this angry individual upon the clerk, the supervisor abandoned her, leaving her alone with a completely unknown family. In what world would this be acceptable to any rational human? Now back to the most recent security video security application. I wanted, and I believe my 2 colleagues on the court would agree, a video surveillance system that the court could use to monitor who was approaching. If the supervisor decided that he is willing to open locked doors to provide access on demand to any random individual who has a grievance with the court, he has demonstrated he's more than willing and able to do so. Now the supervisor wants a video system where he can monitor us. One is compelled to ask why. So we've demonstrated a security risk which jeopardizes the welfare of the court personnel, and it is this individual the town board wants to put in charge of our security. In summary, regarding collaborative.
Out of order with that.
She said you're out of order, Gary.
Okay, in what way?
Just move on without insulting and insinuating that town board members have been acting inappropriately, please.
I agree.
Fine.
So do I.
So in summary, back to collaborative projects, our opinion is the last one forced us to work with a thoroughly unprofessional individual who could not keep the timeline, could not meet a deadline, substantially compromised the court's reputation with its fiscal oversight agency in Albany, and finally produced a product that was substantially flawed. Now we come to the most recent interaction the court has had with the supervisor. As was the case last year, recently the supervisor used two pretexts to claim that the judges were not cooperative in the face of an emergency. What was the emergency? The annual fire extinguisher inspection and the annual maintenance check on the airhead. I'll pause for a moment to let you consider the validity of that oxymoron. Emergency annual event. Emergency annual. The supervisor gave email notice to the court clerk without copying the judges of an immediate need to have access to the offices for the emergency annual fire extinguisher inspection. The urgency was so high that the supervisor had to call her personal phone 6 times within an hour to get her to open the office. When she was insufficiently responsive, he called her other place of employment, the Danby Town Court, to see if they would track her down as well. When the judges didn't respond within hours, because he didn't copy them on the request, he called the supervising judge of the 6th District of the New York State Court System to allege the judges were being uncooperative because they didn't respond, because we didn't get help. So the town has said that in order to receive basic safety in their workplace, we need to apply for the grant and do this collaborative project subject to project management as I have just described. Well, we're not interested. With a bad taste in our mouth, it was thoroughly unpleasant. By the way, that HVAC project is still not finished. These aluminum ducts were supposed to be painted white to match the decor. So now, almost 5 years from the receipt of the grant initially, the project is still in progress. The painting was an agreement with the judges, but there's no need to honor it. So in the end, we have significant concerns about the security that's being provided to the court. I think they're legitimate concerns. And just to transition a little bit off topic, if the supervisor is concerned about our security, here's a question I have about that. In June of 2018, the cops came in and did a survey of the safety needs of the court, made 26 recommendations, none of which were funded in the budgets subsequently. This year, for the first year, the court asked for a bailiff, which was one of the recommendations in their report from the cops. I just saw in my email that has been struck from the budget. We were given a reason. It's because we've never had a bailiff. So we're not going to get a bailiff. Well, it's true we haven't had a bailiff. But we have never had a societal situation where major national organizations.
Can I ask if you are here to discuss the budget or something else?
I'm here to discuss security. Well,
Here to discuss the budget, that's not the time to do it. Because we haven't made an appointment with you to do so.
security issue. We asked for a bailiff, we've been denied. So that tells us exactly where we are with our security needs. We've never had a bailiff, but that's impeccable logic. We've never had a bailiff before, so we don't need one now. That's the end of my comments. So no collaborative projects, we'd rather not. In security, we're not comfortable at all about our security. Period.
Well, I would like to say something. I'm not comfortable at all with the security of the town building. There have been 2 incidents in the past year when we could not get access to either a flipped breaker on one case, and another case where I responded to an emergency call from the town clerk because the building was too cold. We called the heating company. The heating company came. Because you have changed the locks, we have no key to the thermostats. The heating person came, we could not have access to the building. And Cal was here also. And this is a problem. So the problem that, as I see it, is we had a meeting a year ago with respective attorneys. It was determined and agreed upon at that time that keys can be shared. We will provide you, the judges, with whatever locked cases you would like to secure documents in your offices for the very, very rare emergency time when we would need to enter the building. And for us not to have access to breakers in the building, when we have a history room upstairs, it is used in fact by rather aged people, it's simply not acceptable. So this, from my point of view, is a safety issue that has to be resolved immediately.
So let me respond to that. I have a recording of that meeting, as I often do when I meet with people who I feel may have a casual relationship with facts.
And so you.
And at the last.
Point of order, that was really rude. Point of order.
My apologies then.
You better-
I recorded, all right, let me start again. I recorded the meeting. I have listened to it a couple of times. The final ruling on handing off the keys was had by me, who has the authority, along with Judge Barr, over these rooms. And my opinion was, all of this room, that room, violating secure areas, are all a direct cause of the supervisor's decision to put the heating system back there instead of complying with what the judges wanted, which would have given free, unfettered access to the breakers, the heaters, all of it. I said at that time, and I will say this again, I do not see why, and I will not agree to disrupting the operations of the court due to a willful decision made knowledgeably that that was a secure area and he was going to have access, accompanied by a court officer. It was his decision to do that, not ours. And yet now we have to be virtually a carry in, carry out operation. We can't have secure chambers. We have to lock everything up. We have to make sure that there's no materials that are confidential. We have to disrupt the way the court has operated for years because the town chose that location for the area.
Gary, as a former colleague, I'm appalled at your behavior, I have to say.
Okay.
And the decision is you, the court, you and Judge Barr are the ones who have determined that nobody can go in there without your presence.
The law has determined.
Sorry, no, that is not what came out of our meeting with the town attorney. That's not what any other town in Tompkins County does.
No,
It is completely something that has been concocted by you and Judge Barr. So I am, you and I worked together as colleagues on the board, and I respected you. I am so, I am so appalled. I am so appalled that you would treat us and treat me this way.
And we're somewhat appalled that you would put a court employee at risk. We're somewhat appalled.
I did not put a court employee at risk.
All right.
Those were normal working hours for Kirsten. The crash bar was routinely failing. Someone came over and wanted in during normal court hours, and I allowed them access. So you know the whole story.
Every Wednesday she is closed to confidential work. She was closed.
Those were court hours, and you know that.
Okay, I can test that. I can test it. Okay, I can test it. So anyway, we're concerned about collaborative projects.
So thank you for your report. I think that we understand your position. And we will be discussing it as a board, how we will proceed. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the next item of business.
Mark, can I say a couple things if we're moving
Sure.
forward from this?
Yes, you may.
The first is, well, the first is a detail that I guess I want to just share while Judge Reinbold is present, and the next is just generally
He
where to,
left.
how to move forward from here. What'd you say?
Judge Reinbold left.
He left. Well, that's too bad. I am a licensed professional who works under HIPAA. So I'm pretty familiar with confidentiality and maintaining records. And I have stated this before numerous times, but I will state it again. And I guess as emphatically as I can share, when I hear someone say, we need to lock up our things, as if it's some sort of enormous ask. It is not an enormous ask. That is what's required of you, all of us, if we are in a professional position where we need to operate under confidentiality. I work in an office in a shared building. There are people coming in and out of the offices all the time, not just colleagues who might not be a HIPAA protected human professional, but also maintenance and other people. That is a part of working and knowing what your job is and how to lock things up. I have a screen protector for my computer. I have a locked file cabinet. If there's a HIPAA violation in my office, that's my responsibility. I don't want to belabor this point, but I just want to make it very clear. And I'm trying not to get agitated and upset, because there is no reason why this particular item of business around the ask of locking things up should be in question. I'm done having this conversation. And the court can lock their things up so that they can use a shared space in a small town, which is what we are in Caroline. I'm done with this. Moving forward in terms of the larger conversation, I think it is clear, kind of unfortunately, I mean, I guess I was hoping for something different because I've remained hopeful, and the topic of conversation was collaborative work between the court and the town, municipal offices. So I guess I was holding out hope, but I think based on what's occurred this evening, I am going to state yet again that unless very basic things like keys and fire extinguishers and locked file cabinets, until or unless that is resolved, we can't move forward with anything that's more complicated. We just can't. And I would also propose again that we seek the assistance of a mediator, because this is unworkable. And if the court, it's up to them whether or not they are willing to engage, but I would really propose as a board that we just uniformly and unanimously decide what is appropriate dialoguing kind of behavior. And for me, I will not do this with the court in this way anymore. I will not do it.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
yeah, your comments are very much appreciated, Catherine, and I agree wholeheartedly. It is not. Yeah, it was not a constructive conversation. It was not appropriate. And yeah. Anyone else? Reflection?
Well, I mean, as I said before, I simply do not comprehend why it is so complicated to collaborate on a security grant
Mhm.
for our shared space. And the accusation that we are proposing to spy on the judges is nothing short of ludicrous and unfortunate.
Mhm.
We're talking about a shared security system for this room, and I think also for the town hall,
Mhm.
for the protection of all of our employees. That's just a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And other towns have it, other towns in the county have it. This is just called collaboration and cooperation. I don't understand this. Suddenly we're back to, we've heard from the judge 2 times in the past year. Interestingly enough, was in a way the least vituperative. And every time the goalpost is moved back as well. So now we're back to some narrative about 6 years ago. And we know what emergencies have taken place in this building in the past year, simply from a maintenance point of view. And we need to collaborate
Mhm.
to make sure nothing more serious happens. And the system that they're proposing on their own provides us with absolutely no protection. Their recommendation is having unworking cameras in the ceiling would be enough to deter anybody from untoward acts when we're meeting in this space, and that's just not accurate. So I share your opinion, Catherine. I think that this is unworkable. We have to have shared access to this building.
Of course.
I share Catherine's opinion as well. I think mediation is probably the only way to go forward. I was really taken aback and appalled by presentation we just had there. And the accusations and insinuations were uncalled for and doesn't help us move forward. I also have to keep, health records and things like that under lock and key. It's not that odd or difficult. So what would we resolve? To move forward? I mean, we can't have a presentation like that. That was. I can't even think of a good word for it.
That's just as well.
Yes.
I will remind everyone that we did try a form of mediation last September when we had a meeting with our attorney, the assigned attorney for the court out of Binghamton,
Mhm.
the two justices, the supervisor, and at that time the liaison to the board, who was me. I actually thought the meeting went very well. And I thought that we had all come to an understanding of legal parameters. And so I was surprised to hear this narrative that the resolution from that meeting happened in the mind of one person, which didn't meet the collaborative nature of that meeting. So it seems to me that since working with our attorneys in a very formal process couldn't work, some kind of mediation is the only possible other remedy. If
Yeah,
they cooperate.
And the question I wish Gary were still here, because I was gonna ask him if, like truly respectfully, like if there's a belief that there's really been that the court has been aggrieved in such a way or multiple ways, if we're just to agree for a moment, there's a possibility that this has occurred, right? Then I would hope and I would assume that they would pursue that with their supervisory bodies and tell them what they're telling us. Take it to, is it his name Shapiro or whoever the people is, or that we are not in charge of the court. I mean, there are procedures and there's a whole hierarchy of folks who can help with these things. And I'm not sure if the court has presented any of this material to them. My impression is that they have not. And I mean, if they want to do that, then go ahead and do that. And then those folks can help us figure this out. But I don't think that we as a town board in our town meetings, I'm unwilling, and we'll go on the record to say I'm unwilling to give this any more time.
Yeah, I agree.
And if the other people, if the court, the system that is overseeing the justices in the court, if they feel that there is some legitimate situation where we need to be discussing these things, then that's fine, and we will do so. But until we have received such a recommendation from someone other than the justices, I mean, I guess I feel pretty comfortable just being clear about that so that this doesn't continue to go on. The ball is in their court, in my view, in terms of process forward.
Yeah. But unfortunately, that means we're kind of stuck in the mud.
Well, we need to change. I mean, we need access to the office. We need access to the fire extinguishers. We have the power to do that.
Yeah.
The assertion that the justices are in control of these town offices is flatly incorrect.
Yep.
And they can say it 10 times, and say it aggressively and say it with a lot of flowery language, but it's still incorrect.
Yeah,
And I mean, you can tell I'm
yeah,
really intolerant of this. And so we need to get access to our offices, change the locks, and be done. And if they don't lock their stuff up, like, I mean, I can't control their behavior. This is just outrageous. We have other things to do in the town,
good.
and this is a distraction, and I won't have it.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Totally agree.
Aren't they trying to control their offices? I mean, there are two, the clerk's office and the judge's office, that's what, 20% of the building? I mean, it seems like they're just trying to,
Then the conference room.
but I mean,
But how does controlling their offices have to do with or having access for regular maintenance? We received an email from Judge Barr
yeah,
instructing us to spend, it seemed like at least a month to try to make an appointment for maintenance and instructing us that they could not be contacted except for on Monday and Tuesday at a certain time when they open their email. This is not tenable.
Yeah.
We can't run government this way.
Or anything.
yes, I guess I was just trying to, they're trying to maintain a secure space.
But we're offering them that.
Yeah.
We'll buy them whatever secure cabinets they need.
But why can't it just be their offices?
Because the heating system's in there, cleaners come in, some kind of building issue could come up, I mean, this is,
You were here with me when one did come up.
No, I know,
We could have had frozen pipes.
other courts in Tompkins County, the code officer has keys, the clerk has keys, cleaners have keys. This is just silly.
yeah, well,
It's absolutely silly.
I didn't know, cleaning and stuff, they're just doing it all, I don't know.
They shouldn't be doing their own cleaning in the first place. Town office,
They want their office. So if they don't want to clean, we can certainly accommodate that, but
but that is not sanitary.
Yeah.
This is a town building. I don't want infestation. in the
So,
church.
I think,
I'm ready to move on.
yeah, I'm ready to move on.
We have a lot to do tonight.
Do we need to? I don't know, do we need to re-award on anything at this point?
Well, I think that's a good point. So, I mean, I would propose that we.
I will propose- I will
The
propose.
law change, so that we can,
I will propose, so it's not on the supervisor's neck, that we change the locks in the building, providing keys to shared spaces with the justices and providing the opportunity to ask us to order whatever secure cabinets they already don't have, so that they can feel comfortable with the situation, as well as assuring them, although it doesn't appear that they'll accept any assurance, that we would have absolutely no interest in going there in any way,
of course,
except for emergency or maintenance issues, which are rare.
Second,
seconded by Catherine. Any further comments? You have a comment, Bob? What's your comment?
Well, I mean, this is a board discussion for this.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe it'll help you out a little bit, but I don't think you guys are at a point where there's been talking left. I'm just saying it from the outside.
Okay.
I have no part on either side of this,
Good.
doesn't affect my day one bit. But just looking from the outside in, you guys are beyond talking. There's no happy medium,
Oh,
there's
you're
no
right.
middle ground, there's no nothing. So
Right.
So we get
I
that,
don't think-
and that's why we were discussing a mediator and,
I think a mediator is your only way to go. I don't think by changing the locks, you're just gonna keep this snowball rolling downhill. You're gonna change. the
Bob,
locks.
that's a basic safety issue, though. Like, we have to, like, right now, we don't have access to those offices. It's just crazy. We can't, I mean,
So let's move the fucking fire extinguisher.
And the
Usually.
box.
And right,
Language.
And the HVAC system,
No, but it just seems like we're just,
What are we doing?
arguing about little things. Somebody didn't get in to do the annual fire extinguisher inspection.
Cal,
Cal, it's so much more than that. That poor guy has been back and forth 3 times
We get charged for it.
to service
Cal, you were here
2
with,
fire
you
extinguishers.
were here with me last winter
Yeah, with the
with
heating on
a heating crisis.
it.
And we could have had frozen pipes in this building. But we called the heating company, they came out. They get here, they don't have access to the rooms they need to access, so they couldn't tell what the problem was. This is intolerable.
I get what you're saying, I'm just saying, going forward.
Oh, I understand.
I think by changing the locks, it's just gonna get changed, I think it's $100 every time you do it. It just keeps going and going and going until finally. We have some outsiders coming in, it needs to be. More than one mediator, I think, there needs to be a mediator for this side and a mediator for that.
Well, we
side.
tried that last year, frankly.
So we'll try it again, but for right now. Something needs to be done more immediately.
Where's Kate's?
Excuse me,
Stop.
no, this is not a public discussion.
Okay, where?
No, if it's changed, if we had a resolution to change the last one, before we get some.
I mean, I guess the other thing I will say too is that I for context, like I've only been on the board, this past February was a year, right?
Mhm.
And so I feel very clear about my own openness about all of this and my willingness, authentic willingness and desire to try to understand all of this. Starting, my very first board meeting, people can go to the, roll the tape if you want. My introduction to all this was quite dramatic. And I remember saying to myself, you don't understand the history, you're new, there's a lot of context here, put your social worker hat on, try to really be in this place of non-judgmental compassion and understanding. And I have had that approach the whole time, only to just be continually, repeatedly, chronically, just blindsided by this. And Kate's been here even less time. So I think we have to just really also understand that, despite this history, I don't know if we could put this in a resolution, but again, if Judge Reinbold were still here, what I would say to him is can we all just agree to start now, start fresh and move forward? Because if we're going to continue to talk about things that happened in 2017, it's it's not workable for a bunch of different reasons, but not the least of which is that, 2 members of the board weren't even part of this then.
3.
3. So, that is just not workable. And so if the court wants to stay in the past, that's their choice. If they would like to move forward, that's also their choice. But I guess and I know we have a lot to do and whatever, so I'm sorry to belabor this, but I just want to really share the context for anyone watching this because, I have done an enormous amount of due diligence, including asking Mark to send me all documents that were relevant to the initial discussion that I was privy to as a brand new board member, where I was like, what is happening here? I have to understand this better. So I have done my work and I've done my time, and I'm sure that Kate has as well. And we need to just be able to say from this point forward, we are going to work together. And if we're not, quite honestly, we need new justices.
Well, the justices are elected.
Well, then the town can listen to this and elect them. I mean, yes, just like town board members, but this is something that is so important that like we can't move forward unless this is resolved. And respectfully, Cal, you know, this fire extinguisher thing is not, it's not about the fire extinguisher, as we know. That's like proxy for all this other stuff, which is the stuff I don't think that we can have in a small town.
There's a resolution on the table. It's been
On the
seconded.
Shall I bring it to a vote?
The resolution is to. James Rock.
And to offer to cure any storage, locked storage facilities that are needed.
Yeah.
I request.
Provide keys for the justices.
And just for background, for those who aren't familiar with this. With no authority at all, the justices themselves changed the locks. To not provide us with copies of the keys themselves, which is why we're in this mess. When prior to that, we had shared keys, and that was only about 1.5 years ago.
Correct.
I would like to state that I was hoping that when, that we would be talking about collaboration tonight, not having collaboration. Disappointed that it was.
So I'm gonna call for a vote if we need to move on, so. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay.
I would like to suggest that we ask them for what they need. In terms of cabinets, give them a chance to respond. I mean, I would be willing to wait 3 to 4 weeks to get all that set up, to get them what they need. Telling them that we need to hear about this next week, because we've asked for this information now.
Mhm.
We've offered this information, asked them for this information for many, many months, but I would like to give them that opportunity
Mhm.
to,
Of course.
secure whatever files they need to secure in collaboration with them.
Mhm.
If that's okay with everyone.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Okay. The RFP, I have drafted is on the table, and I penciled in a timeline for the process. So I'm open to modifications, so October 17th would be the release, then optional pre-bid site visit. Friday, October 28th or thereabouts. Yeah. We could have a couple dates for site visits.
What page is this?
Oh, this is the second
Second
page,
page.
the second page,
Yeah.
just the second page,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, questions from proposers due Monday, November 14th. About a month away, then the addendum. Posted by Friday, November 18th, so I could push that out. A little bit. And then I left a big hole, basically between the holidays, so that the proposals would be due in January 6th, and interviews 16th to 20th, something like that, and then the contract award by the end of January. Maybe that's too long. I don't know.
I was gonna suggest having the proposals due before Christmas,
Having the
so
proposal,
that we'd have a couple of weeks just to ruminate on them, and then And then be able to maybe do interviews conceivably, well, at least by the 16th, but that'll make it more likely that we can do it by the 16th. If we wait until after New Year's, then we're gonna have other meetings that we have to deal with. And it would just, I think it would just give us a little bit more flexibility. I can't imagine it would make that much difference for the proposers, because they're not likely to be working on this over the holidays anyway. That would just be my recommendation.
To have the proposals due before Christmas?
Yeah, that would be my recommendation,
Okay,
like the 20th or something like that. I don't know what day of the week that is.
so that's the 20th of. And then, oh, right, and then we do interviews like second week of January,
Or even when you said they were, but it would give us time to look at them and to,
even what?
it would give us more time to look at them.
Right, right.
Consider them. That still gives them 2 months. 2 months to get the proposals together.
Mhm.
Just since it's quiet. Sure. As far as process is concerned. RFP versus RFQ. So our previous one was RFQ,
Mhm.
correct?
I think it was, yeah.
So if our previous one was RFQ. Now we're jumping to RFP. Does that mean we're only accepting them from the people that turned in qualifications previously?
Does it what?
Are we only accepting applications, so say,
From people that turn.
from
in
people that
previously?
turned in an RFQ? Because
No.
if not, then I think we're missing a step here.
Yeah, I know. I don't think we're missing a step.
So
You don't need an RFQ before you do an RFP. That's not a necessity.
all right, so we'll bring it to my
Is that, was
second.
that your,
So I just got this when I walked in the door, so I haven't had a chance to read this whole.
okay,
But I think there's some changes that actually have to be made. The first page alone. Description and square footage. Your highway garage. 5,200 square feet, condition 4, that's fine. Quonset storage building, 1,800 feet, instead of 4, it should be a little beyond 4, it's not a workable building. The wood sided pole barn says it's in good condition, that's actually poor condition,
I took these off the Labella report, so.
so, I mean, but we aren't going off any of that, we're going off our next step, so.
Well, we had the Labella report so that we could get to this stage. So it would make sense for us to rely on their judgment, wouldn't it?
Well,
We can alter those.
I don't want to go into this thinking. that
But we can alter that.
3 other buildings that are good. I mean, one's in disrepair and the other ones are in poor condition, so. I don't want to go into this. With these guys thinking that they're only really working with one building. I mean. I'm not looking at this as a small crowd, I'm looking at this. Big, you know, our fuel station. That's all something that needs to be put into this. It all needs to be revamped. So,
Okay, I mean. Yeah, this is supposed to be a factual statement about what's there. not about what's gonna be
It's supposed to be
rebuilt.
a factual statement of one there.
Yeah.
Do you realize we can't get fuel if the temperature is over 70 degrees? That tells me that our fuel pumps are not in good condition. This is a fact, we're stuck in facts here. So we're gonna put it out, let's put it out.
Okay, well, we can modify the qualifier, the condition statement.
I mean, like I said, I haven't had a chance to read this whole thing and read through a few pages.
Okay.
We can wait till next month then.
Excuse me?
We'll wait till next month, but I thought we wanted to move forward.
Oh, believe me, I do, but just,
I know.
I want to be able to read this thing too. We don't necessarily have to wait a whole month. We're gonna have other meetings, correct? We've got budget meetings.
We'll have a meeting tomorrow night, I hope. I don't, yeah, we'll have a meeting tomorrow night.
Well, there's another one scheduled.
So,
for the following
You're
week.
saying we could talk about it more
We
then?
can always talk about it.
That
In a
sounds
week
fine.
or 2 weeks, that'll give me a chance to read it over. We can. I can show you some of the corrections I think should be made, and then we'll put it all together and we'll have it. Do it tomorrow. Well, that's up to you.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
Sure.
That makes sense.
So shall we table this for now and
Yes, sir.
move on? I mean, I think we have. I will modify the schedule. The timeline.
Well, we might have to reconsider the timeline.
Yeah,
Now.
we might. So, I mean, are you thinking of providing feedback by tomorrow night, Bob, or
No,
no?
I can't make it tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't be willing to do it. in
Can you
writing,
just-
so
I mean,
that
or could you just,
And we're most likely to incorporate what you suggest. yeah.
could you just send an email with your thoughts or something like that?
I can try to, I'm trying to put down some meetings tomorrow, but I can. Certainly.
Well, if you can't, we'll just,
Try to
if
get
you can't,
something.
you can't, we'll just wait.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
I don't think it's worth reading it now.
Right,
Everybody
right,
reading it now,
right,
it's gonna
right.
take forever. So,
Yeah, okay.
So, approval of the minutes of October 10th. Anybody have comments for Jesse? I said a little tiny one about the tomorrow night started at 7:30. That we proposed. That's already in there. What's that?
7:30 works, yeah.
When is this?
I got a
Thursday?
class.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. And what are we gonna do tomorrow night for the budget? So do we know who's talking with us tomorrow night?
Well,
We're doing highway tonight, right? At least round one.
yeah,
Or
we're
at
doing,
least,
we're doing highway, and if we don't hear from the court, we'll have the A fund
Okay,
to go over, and then we'll go from
I
there.
mean, I got the impression we heard from the court tonight,
I guess so, I don't know. But they are invited,
right? Have they responded?
No.
Okay,
see, if we can do the DA tonight, and then just a few A's that. deal with-
but we might be able to do the A's tonight too for highway. That's what my.
I was just saying like A's for highway.
Yeah.
All. If we can do the DA in the highway. tonight,
Right.
That would be great.
Just so that's like 4 cases. So-
okay, let's do the bill.
Okay,
Let's do the
so,
bill, and then,
The minutes of October 25th are approved,
Yes.
and I'll offer resolution. I gotta do this in the right order this week, so offer a budget transfer resolution, resolve. The town board hereby authorizes the following budget transfers: $200 from A 10.4 town board contractual to A 1480.4, supposed to be public info contractual. $700 from town board contractual to A 1920.4 municipal dues. $100 from A 10.4 town board contractual to A 3620.4 safety inspection contractual. $800 from A 5132.2 garage equipment to A 5132.4 garage equipment, garage contractual. $400 from A 7510.410 history room contractual to A 7510.4 historian contractual. And $34,527 from the A 234 health insurance reserve to the DA 9060.8 medical insurance contractual line. And that's it for the budget transfers. Do I have a second? Seconded by Cal. Any questions about those? Hearing no questions, call for a vote. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, right. Now I will offer a budget adjustment resolution. Resolve the Fairleigh Town Board hereby authorizes the following budget adjustment. In the amount of $198,930, increase DA 5112.2 and increase DA 3501. That's an expenditure and a revenue one.
What?
Revenue one. They both get boosted. Any, do I have a second on that? Second. Second from Tim. Discussion? Discussion. This is to allow the chips purchase of the excavator. So,
Which I signed today.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Great, thank you. And now offer resolution to pay the town bills for A fund in the amount of $12,262.57. DA fund in the amount of $220,000, $220,697.74, and streetlight fund in the amount of $512.74. Got a second? Cal is not shy. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So the bills are paid, and then share my screen for my budget worksheet. Let's see. It's not visible to the public, is it? Okay. All right. So here's. Here's the highway budget lines. Spreadsheet. So.
These are DA on the sheet,
What's that? Oh, the DA, yeah,
so these are here on the sheet.
yeah, so, yeah, these are the revenue. Okay, here you go.
Okay.
Yeah. 2% increase to the personnel lines. That's by the union contract, and then. DA 5110.4. So yeah, I moved, so. We talked about it last time, so. at Bob's recommendation, we cut out fuel costs into a separate line, so it's a sub line of the DA 5110.4, the 0.41.
So this is not a highway, this is just.
It is high,
This is
It is
highway.
a highway, okay.
yeah, so what's your question?
I'm just, well, I was looking at this, the salaries of. Just talking over it, it's just the council members, just the supervisor, town clerk, so.
Oh, so that's, the top 5 lines are carried over from the very first page,
Oh,
you know,
Okay.
sorry, yeah,
No,
that's-
okay.
it's confusing. It's so the column titles appear on every page. So.
So before you go too far, you want me to just sit down and be comfortable? Rather than having to go all the way back.
Yeah, we should review them now, yeah.
With the creation of the 5110.41. When I went through this, I proposed to fund that account with 75,000 from fund balance. And with doing that, leaving the same dollar amount last year of 189, leaving that in the VA 5110.4. The reason for doing this is on average, highway materials are 17%, it's a 17% increase. Pipes, gravel.
Right now, they're 17%
The
higher
rolling
than,
average is 17%, some of them are. So in order to meet that 17%. By dropping this. We're dropping that account 30,000. We're actually leaving nothing to chew up that rate of inflation. Our fuel alone, like I said, last week is up. By the end of the year, we'll be up $25,000 over top of last year. And the projections for next year are
yeah,
not
so
looking very good. So,
I included the increased fuel costs in the DA 5110.41 line. So that's why it's 75,000.
right, but you took it out of the 0.4,
I didn't take it all out of the 0.4.
right? This is what I'm saying. I'm asking to leave 51.10.4
I hear you,
at the 189.
right,
There's plenty in our DA reserve account to fund that fuel account. Like I said, maybe next year we can look at it a little different, but by cutting this account, we're gonna be cutting service.
well, I mean, so,
So I guess what I'm asking for is an explanation of why would we cut it to 160,000 from 189,000 when we have an average of 17% increase in materials.
mhm. Okay. Well, I think it would make sense to, so you're saying I should include a 17% increase in
saying-
materials cost.
I'm saying you should leave it at the 189.
But I mean, that's how the calculation comes out, right at where it was. I mean, I'm just saying I can do this in a thoughtful way based
I'm doing it
on,
as about as thoughtful as you can. You have $700,000 in fund balance. We can spare $75,000.
but this is the budget. We're
I get
setting
it.
the budget for this
I
year.
get it, Mark.
Okay, so,
If-
I'm just saying, yeah,
Right, but if this is like a.
because Bob, I mean, what you're saying about the fund balance, I mean, let's say we did mess up and we didn't budget enough for DA 5110.4. Fund balance would cover that. We would use fund balance to do that. So I'm not saying that we should. I'm not saying that we should try to budget so that we, land on our butts, but
That's
saying-
exactly what I'm saying.
I'm just saying. You're saying there's a 17% materials cost, so yeah, I can do the math and see where that would fall out, and so. And maybe it'll be 189, but
But I'm trying to. We don't seem to get it around.
I'm trying to support what you're saying. So,
I'm not increasing the line. Let's get the part clear. I'm not increasing the 0.4 line. I'm asking to leave it as it was last year and what it was at the current year before. Every year I've not raised it. Because
No.
I've been able to chew up this rate of inflation in that amount. But now it's getting to the point where I can't. There's nothing left.
right, so I'm saying. We can look at the 0.4 with the fuel removed and then a 17% increase for the remaining costs. And what would that be? That's all I'm saying. I could, do that math, and yeah, it's gonna be bigger than that number there, but I doubt it'll be 189.
Well, clearly you seem to know what we need to spend on.
Well, I'm just saying it's worth.
I could see the argument if I raised it 17%, but I didn't raise it 17%.
Well,
So
we
I
took,
guess
we
we don't
took a
need to
bunch
argue
out of
with
it, that is, I'm trying to support what you're saying, Bob. I'm saying, yes, I will look at it and incorporate a 17% increase for the remaining materials costs.
So there's one thing that I haven't done, and I've made it a point not to,
Okay,
is when I budget everything for the year, I don't budget to dip into fund balance.
right,
But what we're gonna do here is we're gonna make this so that I end up having to budget. The same amount of service that we currently carry, I'm gonna budget to dip into fund balance.
okay,
But that's what you're telling me, what we go over the dip into fund balance.
that's not what I said. I said we could do that, but I said, let's take out what we're taking out for the fuel and then budget the rest with a 17% increase for those remaining costs.
So let me point out 17%. We're just gonna go to 51.2 line for a second. We did the same thing. We did the same thing on that one,
Again,
right? So one product that we have that is covered under 5142.4 is salt. A
right,
17% increase alone is $30,000. That is one material that we use for snow and ice.
okay,
Yeah, we've cut it. We cut it 30,000. There's already a $30,000 increase, yet we cut it $30,000.
so,
Do you not see what I'm saying here?
no, because I'm saying, okay. I can, let's take the fuel out, and the fuel amount, the total fuel amount is the increased price of fuel. Over the past 12 months, $75,000. So we pull that out of those two lines, and then we rebudget them with a 17% increase in each one. And I'm just saying, I can do that.
I'm talking a 17% increase today. I'm not talking about a 17% increase 6 months from now. We already know it's gonna be higher.
Well, I'm talking about a 17% increase on the number we've got in the budget. Why are you ridiculing me? It's just, aren't we saying the same thing?
I don't think we're on the same page.
Okay, so,
So what, Bobby, would the percent increase be then? Cause I had heard you say 17%.
The
What
average is
percent?
17%. Some things are
So
21%.
what,
Some
so
things are
what
25%.
percentage, we need to have a budget, what percentage are you recommending?
That's where I took the fuel, and we created this fuel account. Because fuel was the one thing that went up 100%.
I understand that.
But so with having that extra
Remove.
removed and the easiest way to do this without actually raising my budget line was to basically fund that with fund balance. We funded the fuel with fund balance money. That changed nothing on either one of those accounts, which now left those accounts available to absorb the 17%, the 21%, the 25% increases on all the materials throughout the highway department. We didn't have to raise that line.
So. So that's not how, I mean,
Do we know what's left? What's been expended?
I still have so many outstanding stuff that I haven't got bills for.
Cause I think that's a good way to look at it, to see what's left in those two
Exactly.
lines.
what's left over, that's the other thing that needs to be considered.
And then base.
Yeah.
The number on.
Yeah.
Be the 17% on.
I mean,
Yeah, I think that's a good.
I mean, like I said, I just,
Cause whatever goes over has to be funded, you have to have. the
Right, I get it.
things for some of them, so.
Right, okay.
so we're only talking one thousand, 30% increase, yeah, we cut the budget. $30,000. That line actually is gonna cost us $30,000 more. And we get through snow and ice like this. It's not that we end the year with an extra $75,000 in snow and ice.
Uh-huh. So,
Right now, I'm starting off in the hole on snow and ice. Salt's gone up $30,000.
Can I ask a question, just so I understand this better? So this year, 189,000 included snow and ice and fuel, is that correct?
Correct.
Included the fuel, is that correct?
That includes half, basically half.
the fuel in the winter time.
The fuel in the winter time.
It's split 6 months and 6 months. basically.
So in essence, if I read this properly, then the budget is being increased $30,000 with the fuel. By moving the fuel line to $75,000. I'm just trying to understand what's going on here, you know. So if it was 189 before,
Mhm.
it's now 160 plus 75. That's an increased expenditure, right? So that if we took that,
It's higher than 75, you have to count half of 75. We don't pull the full 75 out of road repair.
okay, so, but I'm just trying to understand the math. So let's say it's half of 75. Which is roughly 35, 32.
Mhm.
So then if we added that onto 160. That's a little bit of an increase. What Mark is proposing. Is to keep the 75 number there. Then do at least a 17% increase. On the balance
That's right.
for that line, which would be. For the rest, is that?
That's right.
So what I'm trying to understand is what you're disagreeing with. Is it the figure 17%?
I wouldn't want to base my whole year on 17%.
Well, then let's have a proposed number so that we can work with
I
something.
mean, it's, things are going up. Weekly.
But I
I
mean,
get a,
His
Your report.
proposed numbers 189. Right?
that's my proposed number.
No, I'm talking about the percentage. So 189,
it's just what it was. Right?
But that's what I was proposing to do that. If we're not gonna leave, if we don't need it, then what's the sense in creating a fuel account if we're just gonna patch it up with fund balance? There's no need to even create the new account. We go over, we're just add fund balance.
No, the reason for the account is just so we can track it. Yeah. So,
I can track it the way we're doing it now. we were trying to find a way to absorb this huge rate of inflation. But what you're telling me is it doesn't. If you cut it back to 160 and if I spend 190, we're just gonna pull that extra 30,000 out of fund balance, bring the account up so that we're not in the negative. And we'll move on to next year.
So,
That's, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what you're saying.
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, I'm just trying to understand. I'm just trying to develop a rational number
I thought.
for these budget lines to tax our taxpayers.
I'm not, right.
Question.
Yeah,
I'm saying
exactly.
that I would want to leave it at 189. We created this other account on fund balance money, which was no increase to
But
taxpayers.
so,
Zero.
so wait, that's not the way it works. So when we are creating a tax levy number with all of these budget lines that we have, that's the tax levy. And then we'll make a decision as a board at the end about, do we have enough fund balance, or do we need to use fund balance to offset the levy to stay under the tax cap, or, wherever we want it to be, or, we judge here, our fund balance is this amount, we make a judgment about how much we should apply to offset the levy for the next tax year. So for each of these budget lines, we're just trying to, at least in my view, we're trying to, the budget process is looking at each line and coming up with a rational number for that line. And the sum of that for all those lines is your tax levy, and then you apply fund balance to reduce it if you feel like you need to. If there's a rationale. So for all I
Can I ask
know,
a question?
if I do this 17% thing, it'll come out to your number. Did I hear Catherine? Go ahead.
I just have a question, and it's a very elementary question, which is, how have we been doing with highway in real numbers? Like, I think maybe I heard Jesse suggest that we look at those numbers, which I guess would be my suggestion too, or it would be helpful to me personally. Like, I appreciate this conversation, but I don't have a sense of like what the numbers are and where the highway department is, and like, do we have money left over? Have we ever gotten into trouble? Like, where are we with this? Because otherwise it's like, obviously everyone wants like their lines to be higher. It's like, but that's not how we can't do it that way.
Yeah, no, that's a good observation and question, Catherine. And so we haven't, at least in my memory, haven't gotten into trouble. We typically have funds left over in the account lines for highway and general fund at the end of the year. But yeah, it's so we want to come as close as we can to our needs without getting, in a responsible way, I'll say. So, yeah. Does that answer your question at all? I mean, I can show you hard numbers later.
Yeah, no, it does. I guess I'm just, Bob, does that sound like, do you get my question too? Of like, how do we come up with a number if we're not looking at the numbers that we have worked with? Like currently it's now, whatever, October. Where,
Yeah, we could get you the numbers. The problem is that there's outstanding stuff, which usually by the end of the year, we're calling people trying to get the last of the yearly bills. So by the time I give you the real number of what we have expended for 22, we would already be past this budget process. I mean, we're talking about passing the budget hopefully by the end of the month.
20 and 21. By December, by November, you've expended all the funds in snow and ice, right? And that was with fuel in that, what being taken from that line.
And then what about the DA
The
lines?
road repair line, I think was only a little bit left in
There
that.
was only a little bit.
But that was before, and of course, that was with fuel being taken out of that one too.
But when those were taken out, fuel was $2.34, and they're working on $4.
Right.
I think 60 cent fuel today.
But we're accounting for the cost of fuel, right?
We're accounting for the projected increase of fuel going forward, but to look, it's hard to look at it from what we did, a year ago, because the price was so drastically different on everything. So where we may buy with just a little bit left, going forward, we're not gonna be able to do that.
I guess what I'm trying to understand, which I really just want to understand, is where actually this 189 proposed number comes from.
That was my number from last year.
Well, that I understand. But I'm trying to understand, if we take the fuel out, what kind of projection or increases are built into that 189 number? Maybe it's too low. I don't know, but so all I'm hearing is it's the same number from last year.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to ask how we're making the projections, which I think is probably reasonable, right?
So
Even though I understand it can't be guaranteed.
we're talking, and I don't have the actual number of, say, tons of gravel. I can get you that number. And that's just speaking for one material that's bought out of that, or anything else that we do. I mean, when I said snow and ice, I just referred to the one thing that went up 17%. There was that much of an increase. That's our big ticket item.
But let's,
And
so
snow and
let's,
ice,
did everything else go up more than 17%?
some things are 21%, some things are 25%.
Were there things that were less than 17%?
Fair. If there is, it's one or two, it's not.
I mean, what I'm trying to come up with is a percentage, an average percentage number that we could then build on top of the difference to cover it, that's all. Because maybe 189 isn't sufficient. But it just feels arbitrary, because I understand it was last year's number, but now we've taken the gas out. So
So
I
we
don't
can-
think. this
We
needs to
could
be-
do that for those two lines. We can.
Okay, so,
I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
so I just multiplied the remainder by 17%, So- coming up to 188,066.
Also, my 189 doesn't fall very far.
No,
No. We just want to know.
And we can double check too. Mark, to see what's been expended.
yeah,
in
and
the,
what the remainder is the
Right.
other
Right.
factor, yeah. So we'll do that.
I guess part of my inquiry too is just to like reassure the public that we are not, when there's statements like we're going to risk losing services, I don't, that I think we're still in a really good spot.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't want people to worry that we would lose services. Like we're really doing pretty well.
Yeah,
It's important to state that for the public.
yes. All right, so I should stay in the control tower here. So we'll look at those numbers more tomorrow and then talk about it again tomorrow night and see if they look adequate or whatever. Can we? Yeah,
And I won't be here tomorrow.
okay.
They're doing this thing.
So can I touch base with you tomorrow or see?
Yes.
So. Looks like the number's gonna be about where you had them, so. We had 17%. So scrolling down, are we good to scroll down, Bob? Improvements. Equipment's at 200,000. Contractual 60,000.
I mean, the improvements. It's under equipment. But that is what CHIPS money is. I know it doesn't really mean a whole lot when we put it in for 200. Realistically, we should change that number.
We can change it to whatever you want. I'll be changing another line as well, right?
Yeah, you're gonna change the revenue line.
Right, so it doesn't really matter. If you know the number now, we can put it in.
I can give you my last year number, I'll give it to you tomorrow.
What, you know, with the rollover, what it'll be next year, you mean?
Well, I don't know what the goal will be.
Okay.
yet, So,
Okay,
but I can base it off my starting numbers.
okay,
We have a more,
whatever you want to do. I mean, I think it would be fine to just leave it at 200 and then make the budget adjustment next year when you do your CHIPS application, or that's what I've done in the past, but if you have a better number,
however you want, but if I go and spend 400,000. We don't have this line at 400.
oh, we just do a budget adjustment. We
So,
just increase it.
that's However you want to do that. I
Yeah.
can get your numbers and change it.
Does everybody understand what we were just talking about?
No.
So it's because this is a chip, this revenue, this expenditure line will be compensated by the
By
state
CHIPS,
through
okay.
CHIPS. They're always the same, 3501 and DA 5112.2. So they could both be $1 million and just make a budget adjustment.
So you want to bring machinery?
Yeah, do you have a line to look at? Scroll.
What about that equipment line from the 21%?
Which
So
one?
It's the DA 5130.2.
That's a new equipment line. So we raised that from the 165 to the 200. Next year, we have to replace, 1 ton pickup. And, those two will be squeezing that number as big as
That's with the $50,000 installment.
right, there's also a $50,000 installment that comes out of that. Truck prices are up. Ridiculous, 40%, 30%. That's why that one's up to 1%.
It's down 1% from 2 years ago.
Right. The DA 5130.4 is basically the equipment repair line. I left that the same. I said previously that, buying, equipment would eventually make this number go down. The problem is that the inflation rate is higher than what we can actually handle. So this number, leaving it at this number will be close, if not over just a little bit. But I don't see a reason to raise it at this point. That pretty much takes care of that one. Miscellaneous account, DA 5140.4. I left that at 4,200. Now that's big. Ticket one. Like Mark already said, we personal service line went up 2%, that's all through their contract. The next one is DA 5142.4. Again, same as the road repair.
Mhm.
Where's that?
This morning.
Can you find it? Sorry,
No, but that's all right.
I'll get a better handout for tomorrow night.
Page 2 on the VA side.
Yeah, the problem is.
Yeah, there you go.
Page numbers that erased.
Did you find it?
No, no, I have the fire protection.
Oh, yeah, I think it's on the reverse side of that one you had.
There it is.
Did you find it?
So. Sorry.
It's 2.4 page 1.
So what was your budget request, Bob? For that one?
My budget request was 190, knowing that we're going into this with a $30,000 increase in salt.
Okay.
So we're moving.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, 42.
I don't know what I'm looking for.
Now, I'll be a part on things.
There it is.
Okay, so. I'm gonna sound stupid. Okay, personal services overtime, what is contractual versus personal services?
What is it?
Yes,
Personal services like labor.
Yeah,
okay.
that's where the
Contractual-
payroll,
Contractual is what we actually pay out as far as materials.
Okay, okay.
yeah,
I just don't know,
I'm just gonna say,
my first time.
those of us who've done this a while can forget, please ask lots of questions. That's what I'm trying to say. So. So yeah, the 0.4 on these budget account lines always means contractual, that it's a contractual. A 0.1 always needs personnel. If it's a 0.11, that's just another kind of personnel. A 0.41 is another kind of contractual. It's a finer tuned thing.
Are we good on those?
Are we down to benefits? Or
Yeah, I didn't know if there was any discussion on the snow and ice.
So, I wrote in 190K for that. So. That's what you recommend.
I mean, if we do just that percentage on the amount of salt that comes out to. We'll be in the same boat, just like we were on the other one.
So like, yeah. So in 21, in the DA 5142.4, we expended 181,469.
And the only difference in that is like a week where we didn't buy salt, we carried salt to the next year, or it would have been at it would have been at that 190 before. This DA 5680.4. It's at 500, we've added to 500, it's basically drug and alcohol testing. When that pops up, it's a random pool. Usually we don't go over that.
How often does that happen, Bobby?
It's random, so
Somebody else determines it?
yeah, they just send me a.
Oh, so that's just the contract to have that done.
No, we actually We don't pay until somebody goes. So it's a lot, so if anything gets picked out, we have to pay for the cost.
I'm just curious, I don't wanna waste time on this, but I'm just curious,
Some years we never did,
I'm just curious who picks them out?
So it's sporadic, it's not regular. Right,
it's not a regular, this is just a.
Is this a state thing or is it county thing?
Yeah, it's a Troy County.
Okay, that's just what I was wondering.
Your name, if your name gets picked out, then you go, you could get picked out. You know,
3 times or never?
3 times in a month, you
Yeah.
can get picked out 3 times a year, you can get picked out no tax.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was just curious about the process.
And on to benefits. Mark has more info on that than I do.
yeah, the benefits, you know, I need to check the retirement numbers with Velvet again, but retirement I get from the payroll from Velvet. Workers' comp, I will probably be reducing that to make it flat after today's discussion. Social Security comes from our payroll numbers, that's just a calculated number. And the medical insurance is calculated as well. But I'm gonna recalculate that because, or look at that carefully because you probably noticed I did that transfer today from the highway reserve, the health insurance reserve fund, so I gotta figure out why that happened, so why we needed to do that, so. Make sure those numbers are solid.
Other than that, the only other one. That I had, Mike, you know the number off the top of the head, it was highway revenue. $231.
231,
I'm not sure what it's 231. What are the? Highway revenue.
oh, the 2,300. Well, highway revenue is a lot of accounts, right?
Well, it would be for one, equipment sold.
Oh, that's 2665. Huh? DA, DA 2665.
You have in here 85.
Uh-huh.
I think we should probably lower that just a little more.
I use the numbers from the capital plan.
Which the period of our kind of change a little bit, so. I guess what I'm doing is I put more about 65. More on the realistic side.
So we're What's the proposal?
65.
So I had, I actually lowered it from 90. 50,000 for a 1 ton and 40,000 for a pickup.
Yeah, we've switched a few things. In order to get onto that 200,000 in the equipment line. As far as the 1 ton, we'll actually have to keep some equipment. Because we won't have enough. In that 200 to actually fully fund. The whole thing. So
What you're selling, you're gonna trade in part as a truck or what?
Like without the plow equipment,
The
well,
what?
we're gonna get, right,
without the plow equipment.
Oh,
we're gonna
okay.
get a new plow for the front, but we're not gonna get rid of the sander. This, so you guys know, Sanders went, as far as the 10-wheeler went from, about 18,000 to 36,000. The price of stainless has gone up 200%. So we're trying to make everything work without completely jacking that 200 to 300. Just, we're gonna keep the spreader this time around, next time around, we'll get rid of it. We're gonna keep it this time, so. And the only reason I bring that up is because that line does offset that new equipment.
Right, so,
So I want to keep it as realistic as possible.
yeah. So you don't think 85 is realistic, so,
Not with keeping some equipment.
okay. Let's see.
Like I said, we're maybe $8,000 for a smaller spreader before they're 20-some thousand now.
So then where do you take the other 20,000 from is a question.
Mhm.
Do you take it, go back to where we were originally discussing? And go back to. Okay, man, I'm just thinking out loud. Go back to. That 169 number,
Oh,
roll in the dice and then hoping that. If it goes over, then we go to fund balance, but this allows us to maintain the budget picture that we have. Is that a possibility?
So just a thought. What that increase is. Basically a $40,000 increase on that budget line. On the equipment line. And we're actually bringing back 55,000, so.
Say again, Bob.
Let me get back to this number.
I was talking, Bob, I was talking about the original numbers that we're talking about in terms of the salt and fuel line, whatever that line is called, where we were roughly set up, we were gonna wait and figure the number, but let's say the number was gonna be 189 based on a 70% guess. But that could be a place where we could take the 20 from for the budget flexibly, right? So you keep this all in balance. I'm just thinking out loud in terms of, I wouldn't want to take
To keep the levy from going up.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to take it from the equipment line,
Mhm.
because I think we've come to a fairly decent agreement about that, that has to come from somewhere. And there doesn't seem to be many other places,
I mean,
and we're not risking anything, we're just
Mhm.
trying to balance the projected budget.
so. I don't, what did we budget for as far as, sales of equipment last year?
Well, it should be on here,
I think I saw it, I think it was 65, maybe.
60.
60.
Well, 60 we budgeted this year.
This year. Yeah. You meant this year, probably.
This year, yet we haven't sold anything. Because we haven't replaced anything. So,
Yeah, it doesn't show anything that has been expended.
Yeah. Technically, we have. We sold a loader. For $175,000.
okay, we didn't make- You can leave it at the 90 or 85, we can try, but I just wanted it to be realistic. I mean, in theory, we're gonna have a couple little things to get rid of, and maybe that would make up that difference. But
Maybe that would make it, yeah.
I would count on it, but I guess it's wrong a little bit. It's just a projection. So
Mhm.
that's the only hard part of that line. I mean, sell something and make that. Who knows, maybe we make that out of one month, but. Just depends on how things are at the time, so. But for now, we only leave it 85, we leave it 85.
Okay. Let's leave it there for now. Well,
That's the end of the VA stuff for me.
yeah, good, okay. Time is 9, 10, 12. So I say we do a fund tomorrow,
So
unless people want to do some more.
I only have 5 A accounts that I have to do with me.
Did we do your A's yet? Oh, okay,
Do those.
we
It
can
won't
do,
take very long, I don't think there's any argument. in this,
No, let's
so,
do those.
okay,
So what about those strands? You know,
it's, you can ignore it. It's just stuck in there. You mean there? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we make good progress, yeah. We'll see. We'll know in a week or two.
Okay,
There's no real, like,
well, it's got to, still that project to get kind of finished up, because the money that comes in. And it's, there's some of that, no, it's Calvin.
that part is counted.
Okay. Having a hard time keeping up tonight.
So your first A lines, the 33, 10, 24, and 5.
So 33, 10.4. I left that at 55. I know this year will probably be just a little under that. But going forward, we're switching road signs to. Every time we repair a road, we're switching all the signs to highway.
Yep.
Road signs along with everything else is going off. So we'll be closer, real close to that 55 number, so that it's fine if we just got that. It is 50, 10.2. Next one. It's at 550, so it's fine. A 50, 10.4. This year we've gone over on that one. or no, I'm sorry, we did go over on that. We're actually a little heavy on that line. And what I had proposed was to move 5,000 from A 5010.4 to A 5132.4.
Right, we did that.
We did that, so. The A 5132.2. That one left alone. A 5132.4. Like Mark already said, we already changed that, we added that 5,000 from the previous account. And that increased that line to 20,500. That's good with everybody, that concludes my.
I think. Any questions?
No, I think it's pretty. I mean, I didn't think that the first issue is that controversial, it's just a matter of
Right,
figuring out the number. So I
Right,
didn't
I
have a
don't
problem
know,
with that.
things get easier, not harder, but it's the price of the thing. You know, some things pretty complicated.
sharing here. Oh, there. Okay, we can see you again, everybody out there, and all right. So great, so that concludes the budget workshop. Thanks, Bob. So we'll ink those numbers in. Did you get everything, Jesse? Great, thanks. And so, let's see. So I will offer a motion to enter executive session to discuss the personnel issue.
I'll second it.
Second by Kate. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, how long do you think you'll be doing about talk Al after the meeting?
I don't think it'll be real long,
10 minutes maybe?
not more than an hour. No,
You might.
yeah, I would say that's a reasonable. Yeah, I think something like that.
I'll wait on it. About 5 minutes. Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Fix all the-